3 Game of the Year winners, multiple 10 out of 10 masterpieces, and games that literally made me question reality. That's what we're covering today. These aren't just good PS5 games, they're the kind that ruin other games for you. I've ranked them, I've beaten them, and now I'm sharing them. Okay, so Elden Ring, where do I even start? This is the game that basically ruined every other open world game for me in 2022. From Software teamed up with George R.R. Martin, and what they created is just chef's kiss. It's got a 96 on Metacritic, won Game of the Year, and honestly, it deserves every bit of praise. The thing about Elden Ring is it doesn't hold your hand. At all. You're dropped into this massive, hauntingly beautiful world called The Lands Between, and it just says, go figure it out. And you know what? That's exactly what makes it so addictive. Every corner you turn, there's either something trying to murder you or some jaw-dropping vista that makes you stop and just stare. The boss fights are legendary, and I mean that literally. Some of these fights will make you want to throw your controller, but when you finally beat that boss after the 47th try, the rush is unreal. Plus, there's like hundreds of hours of content here. Underground cities, hidden areas, optional bosses that are harder than the main story. It's insane. If you've never played a Souls game before, this is actually the perfect entry point because you can explore, level up, and come back stronger. Just prepare to die. A lot. Baldur's Gate 3 is not just a game, it's an experience. Like, I'm talking about the kind of game where you make a decision in Act 1 and it completely changes your entire playthrough. This thing won Game of the Year in 2023, has a 96 on Metacritic, and it's basically the ultimate D&D experience without needing to find 4 friends who are actually available on the same night. Larian Studios put an insane amount of detail into this. There are over 17,000 possible ending variations. 17,000! The combat is turn-based, which some people might think is slow, but trust me, when you're setting up the perfect combo of spells and watching everything explode exactly as planned, it's so satisfying. And the characters? Oh man, the characters. Every companion has this deep backstory, and you actually care about them. The choices you make feel weighty because there's no obvious good or bad option most of the time. You're just trying to do your best in impossible situations. I've put over 100 hours into this, and I'm still finding new things. New dialogue, new quest routes, new ways to solve problems. If you love RPGs and you haven't played this yet, you're missing out on probably the best RPG of the decade. Astro Bot is pure, concentrated joy. I'm not even kidding. This game won Game of the Year 2024 with a 94 on Metacritic, and it's a PlayStation exclusive that showcases everything great about the PS5. It's a 3D platformer that feels like Nintendo and Sony had a baby. And that baby was raised on happiness and creativity. You've got over 50 planets to explore, each one completely different from the last. One minute you're navigating a sponge cake world, the next you're in a singing planet where everything's musical. The DualSense controller implementation is genuinely the best I've ever experienced. You feel every step, every jump, every little interaction. It's like the controller is part of the game world. And here's the thing, this isn't just for kids. Yeah, it's family friendly, but the level design is legitimately clever. Some of the later stages will challenge even veteran platformer fans. Plus, there are 150 plus PlayStation character cameos throughout the game. Finding them is like a love letter to PlayStation's history. It took me about 12 hours to beat, but I didn't want it to end. If you need a break from all the dark, serious games, Astro Bot is the perfect palate cleanser. It's just good vibes all around. God of War Ragnarok is epic in every sense of the word. This is Sony's highest-rated PS5 exclusive with a 94 on Metacritic, and it's the perfect conclusion to Kratos' Norse saga. What I love about this game is how it balances this massive world-ending story with these incredibly intimate father-son moments. Kratos and Atreus are trying to prevent Ragnarok, but they're also just trying to understand each other. The combat is absolutely brutal in the best way. You've got the Leviathan axe, the Blades of Chaos, and now some new toys I won't spoil. Every fight feels impactful, especially the boss battles. Some of these bosses are just, well, the scope is insane, the set pieces are Hollywood-level spectacular. And it's not just mindless action. There's real emotional weight here. There were moments that genuinely got me choked up, which is not something I expected from a game about an angry god with axes. The campaign is about 40 hours if you're doing the main story and some side content, but you could easily spend 60 plus hours exploring all the realms. Each realm feels distinct and packed with secrets. If you played the 2018 God of War, Ragnarok is a must-play. It's everything you loved about that game, but bigger, better, and more emotionally resonant. Demon's Souls is where it all started, and this PS5 remake is absolutely gorgeous. We're talking 92 on Metacritic, and it was a launch title that really showed what the PS5 could do. Bluepoint Games took this PS3 classic and rebuilt it from the ground up. 4K, 60 frames per second, ray tracing, the works. It looks like a piece of art. But don't let the pretty graphics fool you. This game will destroy you. It's the original Souls-like, the one that started the whole prepare to die genre. The world of Boletaria is dark, oppressive, and unforgiving. Every enemy encounter matters. Every boss fight is a test of patience and pattern recognition. What I appreciate about Demon's Souls is how it respects your intelligence. It doesn't tell you where to go or what to do. You have to figure it out, experiment, and learn from your mistakes. And when you die, and you will die, you lose all your souls unless you can make it back to where you died. That risk-reward system is what makes every moment feel tense. The level design is brilliant too. Each archstone takes you to completely different areas with unique themes and challenges. If you've played Dark Souls or Elden Ring and want to see where it all began, or if you just want one of the most visually stunning games on PS5, Demon's Souls is essential. Just know what you're getting into. This is not a casual experience. Spider-Man 2 is everything I wanted from a superhero sequel. This PS5 exclusive sits at 91 on Metacritic, and honestly, it's the definitive Spider-Man experience. The coolest thing? You get to play as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales, and you can switch between them throughout the story. Each one has their own unique abilities and playstyle, so it never feels repetitive. Peter's got the symbiote suit, which, I won't spoil it, but things get dark and intense. Miles has his electric venom powers that make combat feel so different. And can we talk about the web swinging? It was already incredible in the first game, but here it's been perfected. The way you gain momentum, zip between buildings, do tricks in the air. It genuinely feels like you're Spider-Man. The map is bigger too, with Brooklyn and Queens added to Manhattan, so there's even more city to explore. The story focuses on Venom, and they absolutely nailed it. The boss fights are spectacular, especially when you're fighting on the sides of buildings or in midair. One thing that blew my mind was the fast travel. It's literally instant thanks to the PS5's SSD. No loading screens, you just whoosh and you're there. The side content is actually fun too, not just generic busy work. Taking down Mysterium challenges, stopping crimes, the whole Peter-MJ relationship drama, it all feels meaningful. It's about a 20 to 25 hour campaign, but I spent way longer just swinging around the city because it's so much fun. If you loved the first game, this is better in every way. Okay, Clair Obscur is the surprise hit of 2025 that I wasn't expecting to love this much. It won Game of the Year with 9 Game Awards, has a 92 on Metacritic, and sold 5 million copies, which is insane for a new IP. This is a turn-based RPG, but it's not like the old-school ones where you just select commands from a menu. The combat is active and engaging. You're timing blocks, dodging, and there's this reactive element that keeps you on your toes even during enemy turns. The setting is what really grabbed me, though. It's based on Belle Epoque France, that period right before World War I, and the art direction is stunning. Think ornate architecture, vintage fashion, but with this dark fantasy twist. The story revolves around the Paintress, this mysterious figure who paints a number each year, and anyone that age just dies. Your expedition is number 33, trying to stop her before she paints again. The characters are genuinely interesting with actual depth, not just anime tropes. And the main campaign is about 30 to 35 hours, which is the perfect length. Long enough to get invested, but doesn't overstay its welcome. What impressed me most is how polished everything is for a debut game. The voice acting, the animations, the world building, it all feels AAA. If you're a fan of turn-based combat but want something fresh and innovative, or if you just love beautiful art design, Clair Obscur is absolutely worth your time. It's one of those games where I finished it and immediately wanted to play it again. Death Stranding 2 is peak Hideo Kojima. And I mean that in the best possible way. This PS5 exclusive has an 89 on Metacritic with multiple 10 out of 10 reviews. And it's exactly what you'd expect from the man who gave us Metal Gear. Ambitious, weird, emotional, and completely unique. The first game was divisive, right? People either loved the delivery gameplay or thought it was a walking simulator. Well, the sequel takes all that feedback and evolves it. The traversal is still core to the experience, but now there's way more variety. You've got new gadgets, vehicles, and the combat has been significantly expanded. The stealth sections are genuinely tense now, and when combat happens, it's actually fun. The story? Oh man, it's Kojima, so expect metaphors about connection, life, death, and the human condition. Norman Reedus is back as Sam, and the cast is stacked. We're talking A-list Hollywood talent delivering these incredibly emotional performances. Without spoiling anything, the narrative goes to some wild places. The visuals are stunning, especially the environments. Whether you're crossing desolate beaches or navigating through storm-ravaged territories, it's all gorgeous. And the strand mechanics, that asynchronous multiplayer where you help other players by leaving supplies or building structures, it's still there and even better. It creates this beautiful sense of community without forcing you to play with others directly. The game is probably 30 to 40 hours for the main story, but if you're a completionist, double that. Look, if you hated the first one, this probably won't change your mind, but if you appreciated what Kojima was trying to do, Death Stranding 2 is a masterpiece that refines and expands on that vision. Hollow Knight Silksong? Finally! After 6 years of waiting, we got it in 2025, and it was worth every second. This Metroidvania has a 90 plus on Metacritic, and fans of the original are losing their minds over it. Instead of playing as the knight, you're now playing as Hornet, who controls completely differently. She's faster, more aggressive, and has this whole new moveset that changes how you approach combat and exploration. The world is entirely new. You're in the kingdom of Farloom, climbing from the depths to the surface, which is the opposite of the first game's descent. What's insane is the scope. Over 40 bosses. 40, and they're all incredibly designed with unique patterns and challenges. Some of them are optional super bosses that will test every skill you've learned. The hand-drawn art style is even more beautiful than before, with these lush, vibrant areas that contrast with darker, creepier sections. The orchestral soundtrack is phenomenal. It sets the mood perfectly for every area. For completionists, you're looking at 100 plus hours of content. There are so many secrets, hidden areas, alternate paths, and collectibles that you could play this multiple times and still find new things. The difficulty is still there. This is not an easy game, but it's fair. Every death feels like your fault, not the game's, which is the mark of great design. If you loved Hollow Knight, Silksong is everything you wanted. If you're new to the series, you can actually start here since it's a different protagonist and story. Just be prepared for a challenging but incredibly rewarding experience. Ghost of Yoti is the follow-up to one of my favorite PS5 games, and it takes everything to the next level. This PS5 exclusive sold 3.3 million copies in the first month, and while the Metacritic score is still pending, the buzz is massive. Instead of Jin Sakai, we're now following a new protagonist named Atsu in 1603 Hokkaido, which is a completely different setting from Tsushima. We're talking snow-covered landscapes, frozen lakes, dense forests. It's visually stunning and so different from the first game's vibrant fields and autumn colors. What I'm excited about is the non-linear storytelling. The first game was fairly linear in how the story progressed, but Yotei lets you tackle objectives in different orders, which affects how the story unfolds. Atsu has 5 weapon types to master, each with their own skill trees and combat styles, so there's way more variety in how you fight. The dynamic weather system actually impacts gameplay too. Snowstorms affect visibility, combat changes in different conditions, and you have to adapt your approach. The standoffs are back, which is great because those tense duels were one of the best parts of Ghost of Tsushima. The combat still has that beautiful, cinematic quality where every clash feels like a samurai movie. Sucker Punch clearly studied the feedback from the first game and refined everything. The enemy AI is smarter, the stealth is more flexible, and the world feels more alive with dynamic events. I'm probably 20 hours in and still have so much to explore. If you loved Ghost of Tsushima, this is an automatic buy. If you're new to the series, this is actually a perfect starting point, since it's a new story with a new character. Metaphor Refantazio is from the same team that made Persona, and you can feel that DNA throughout the entire game. This JRPG has a 94 on Metacritic and actually won GameSpot's Game of the Year for 2024, which is huge. But here's the thing. While it shares some mechanics with Persona, this is not just fantasy Persona. It's its own beast. The world is darker, more political, and the stakes feel way more epic. You're in this kingdom where the king has been assassinated, and there's this competition to become the next ruler. It's part fantasy adventure, part political thriller, and it works so well. The combat system is brilliant. It's turn-based, but there's this archetype system where you can switch classes mid-battle, and each character can have multiple roles. The strategy gets deep, especially in boss fights where you need to exploit weaknesses and manage resources carefully. And yes, there's a time management system like Persona, where you balance dungeon crawling with building relationships and upgrading your abilities. Some people might find that stressful, but I love it because every decision feels meaningful. The art style is gorgeous. It's got this European fantasy aesthetic with stained glass motifs and medieval influences. The soundtrack is absolutely incredible too, probably the best Atlas has ever done. The story is 80 plus hours for a full playthrough, and I was engaged the entire time. The characters are well written with actual development, the plot has genuine twists, and the themes about prejudice and societal change hit harder than I expected. If you're a JRPG fan, this is essential. Even if you've never played a Persona game, Metaphor stands on its own as one of the best RPGs in years. The Resident Evil 4 remake is how you do a remake, right? Capcom took a 2005 classic, one of the most influential games ever made, and somehow made it even better. It's got a 93 on Metacritic, and it deserves every point. The original RE4 was revolutionary. It changed how third-person shooters worked and influenced everything that came after. This remake keeps that core experience, but modernizes it in all the right ways. Leon Kennedy is still on his mission to rescue the president's daughter, Ashley, from a cult in rural Spain. And the tension is incredible. The balance between action and horror is perfect. You're constantly low on ammo, every encounter feels dangerous, and even the regular enemies can overwhelm you if you're not careful. The boss fights are spectacular. That first encounter with El Gigante, the lake section, the knife fights, they've all been enhanced and feel fresh, even if you played the original. The controls are modernized, so no more tank controls, but they kept that deliberate, weighty feel that makes you think before you act. Leon can't just sprint and gun everything down. You have to be tactical. The atmosphere is oppressive in the best way. The village section at the beginning sets the tone perfectly, and it never lets up. What impressed me most is how they expanded certain sections and added new content while staying faithful to what made the original special. The Mercenaries mode is back too, which adds tons of replay value. If you've never played Resident Evil 4, this is the definitive version. If you played the original back in the day, trust me, this remake respects the legacy while being its own incredible experience. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the middle chapter of this remake trilogy, and oh man, it's massive. This PS5 exclusive has a 92 on Metacritic, and it's been enhanced for PS5 Pro with some of the most stunning visuals I've ever seen. The scale of this game is insane. The original FF7 was on 3 discs, and Rebirth covers the middle portion. Basically, once you leave Midgar until, well, that moment, if you know, you know. What's wild is, they took sections that were maybe an hour in the original and expanded them into 10 to 15-hour regions. Each area is this massive open-world playground with side quests, mini-games, exploration, and secrets. Some people might say it's too much content, but I loved having this much to do. The combat is a hybrid system that blends real-time action with strategic ATB commands, and it feels so good. Each character plays completely differently. Cloud is your balanced all-rounder. Tifa is a rush-down brawler. Aerith is a mage. Barret is ranged support. And you're constantly switching between them in battles. The synergy attacks where characters team up are spectacular. The story? Look, if you know FF7, you know there are some heavy moments coming. They handle it beautifully, with some changes that even surprised longtime fans. The relationship dynamics between the party members, especially the whole Cloud-Tifa-Aerith triangle, is given so much depth. The main campaign is 60+ hours, and that's without doing everything. There are card games, chocobo racing, piano minigames, a whole Queen's Blood card game that's weirdly addictive. It's packed with content. If you played Remake, Rebirth is essential. Just know you're committing to a long journey, but it's absolutely worth it. Alan Wake 2 is Remedy's magnum opus, and I don't say that lightly. This survival horror game has an 89 on Metacritic, and it's unlike anything else I've played. The first Alan Wake came out in 2010, and this sequel was worth the 13-year wait. What makes this special is the dual protagonist structure. You play as both Alan Wake, who's been trapped in the dark place for years trying to write his way out, and Saga Anderson, an FBI agent investigating ritual murders in Bright Falls. The narratives interweave in this really clever way where what one character does affects the other's reality. It's meta in the best way. It's a game about writing, about how stories shape reality. And Remedy leans into that hard. The horror here is psychological and oppressive. It's not jump scares, though there are some. It's this constant dread and the feeling that reality itself is unstable. The Dark Place sections with Alan are trippy and surreal, like you're inside a nightmare version of New York. The visuals are stunning, especially the lighting and atmosphere. Remedy used their Northlight engine to create some genuinely unsettling environments. Combat is tense because resources are scarce. You're using light to weaken enemies before you can hurt them, and ammo management is crucial. The musical sequences, yes, there are musical numbers in this horror game, are phenomenal. They shouldn't work, but they absolutely do. The story is complex and requires attention, but it's so rewarding. The mysteries, the connections to Control and Remedy's other games, the metafictional elements, it all comes together brilliantly. This isn't for everyone. If you want straightforward action horror, this might not click, but if you appreciate ambitious storytelling and don't mind things getting weird, Alan Wake 2 is a masterpiece. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was the first game that truly made me feel like I was playing a next-gen game. This PlayStation exclusive came out in 2021 with an 89 on Metacritic, and it was the perfect showcase for what the PS5 could do. The dimensional rifts, where you instantly jump between completely different worlds, are only possible because of the PS5's SSD. There's no loading, no waiting, you just rip through a portal, and BAM, you're in an entirely new dimension. It's seamless and it never gets old. Visually, this looks like a Pixar movie. I'm not exaggerating. The fur rendering, the lighting, the particle effects, it's gorgeous. Insomniac Games are technical wizards. You play as both Ratchet and Rivet, this new female Lombax from another dimension. And they both control great. The platforming is tight, the shooting is satisfying, and the weapon variety is insane. You've got the classic weapons like the Groovatron that makes enemies dance, but also new stuff like the Ricochet that bounces between enemies. Experimenting with different weapon combos is half the fun. The story is lighter and more family-friendly than some other games on this list, but it's charming and well-told. It's about Ratchet finally finding other Lombaxes and confronting his past, while also stopping Emperor Nefarious from conquering all dimensions. The length is perfect at 10 to 15 hours for the main story. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's paced really well. There's also challenge mode for New Game Plus with harder enemies and upgraded weapons. This is genuinely a game for all ages. Kids will love the colorful worlds and fun gameplay, but adults will appreciate the tight mechanics and gorgeous presentation. If you want a feel-good, beautiful game that shows off your PS5, Rift Apart is the one. And there you have it. 15 games that'll keep you busy for, honestly, probably the next year or two. Look, I know everyone's got their own favorites, so drop a comment and tell me which game I'm sleeping on. Did I rank something too low? Too high? Let me know. If this video helped you find your next obsession, smash that like button and subscribe for more PlayStation content. I've got more lists, reviews, and gaming deep dives coming your way. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a date with my backlog. Happy gaming, everyone!